Once upon a time in a distant galaxy, a wishing star hurtled toward Earth at breakneck speed. The place where it landed became the dark forest, and the wishing star itself was hidden deep within. Ever since, people have whispered that whoever finds the star will have one wish granted. Back in the present, Puss in Boots is hosting a party and everyone greets him with warm, exuberant cheers. Not only that, they even form a staircase with their hands for him to walk on. After much urging, Puss in Boots is hosting a party and everyone greets him with warmth. As he performs passionately, the governor of Del Mar suddenly returns, seeing his clothes, his wig, and his portrait in ruins. He flies into a rage and orders his soldiers to capture Puss in Boots. Thanks to his agility, Puss in Boots easily overcomes the guards, dancing hip-hop while fighting. He manages to humiliate the governor by slicing the back of his pants, causing them to fall down. Puss in Boots then finishes the encounter with a dazzling display of fireworks. However, the fireworks are so loud that they awaken the sleeping giant of Del Mar. In fury, the giant tears off the roof and begins attacking everyone. Spotting a boy in danger, Puss in Boots uses a string to launch himself straight at the giant. The two clash midair in a spectacular fashion reminiscent of Dragon Ball, and Puss in Boots quickly drives his sword into the corner of the giant's claw. The giant, enraged, hurls Puss in Boots away, yet he remains composed and casually grabs a nearby cup of coffee to stay alert. The battle continues, and this time Puss in Boots not only saves the innocent but also defeats the giant with a clever move. Using the giant's own force against him, the giant collapses right behind him. Seeing that everyone is still eager for a surprise, Puss in Boots bursts into song, performing "The Legend Will Never Die." After a bell strikes his head, Puss in Boots awakens in the doctor's clinic. The doctor quickly examines him and Puss in Boots assures him that he feels perfectly healthy. Then the doctor unexpectedly reveals that he has only one life left. Instead of fear, Puss in Boots laughs and says cats have 9 lives. So he always laughs in the face of death. Let's see how many I've lost. The first to a bull attack while chasing a girl, the second to gambling, the third from a high fall while showing off, the fourth from being crushed by a weight, the fifth from crawling into a cannon foolishly, the sixth from a seafood allergy, the seventh from a cooking accident, and the eighth from today, when the falling bell struck him, realizing he truly has only one life left and must retire. Puss in Boots cannot accept it. The kind doctor suggests a retirement place that is Mother Luna's house. In a fit of frustration, Puss in Boots curses the doctor and leaves. He heads to a milk shop to drown his sorrows, sipping his drink when a white wolf suddenly appears beside him. The wolf whistles incessantly, making Puss in Boots uneasy. Initially, Puss in Boots assumes the wolf is after the bounty on his head and challenges it. Despite his agility, he cannot land a hit. Eventually, he becomes genuinely terrified as the wolf overwhelms him and even draws blood. As death feels closer than ever, Puss in Boots recalls his glorious past, with only one life left. This is the first time he has had to flee from a fight. The wolf's whistle terrifies him and he can only run forward. Once a hero who vanquished evil and protected the innocent, now Puss in Boots must retreat in shame. In no time, Puss in Boots arrives at Luna's mother's house following the doctor's recommendation. Before entering, Puss in Boots removes his outfit and buries it in the ground as a declaration that the legend of Puss in Boots no longer exists. Don't forget that I was once that legend. I even had countless famous nicknames. And I can sing, and sing well, but now I have nothing left. Puss in Boots quickly goes forward and knocks on the door, and he is immediately welcomed by Luna. She does not just raise 1 or 2 cats, but an incredibly large number of them. After Puss in Boots is washed and cleaned, Luna introduces him to the other cats, but it seems that none of them like this new member because Puss in Boots refuses to integrate like the other cats. Now he is not allowed to use the sink for the toilet but has to line up to go into the litter box, and he cannot cook for himself but has to eat the food provided for cats. Time passes from day to month, and eventually Puss in Boots gets used to his new life. By now he has become an old whiskered cat. One day while Puss in Boots is eating breakfast as usual, a cat beside him keeps flicking its tail at him. Puss in Boots is about to get angry when he realizes that it is not a cat but a dog in disguise. The puppy lifts Puss in Boots' bushy whiskers and discovers that Luna has named him Pickle. The puppy explains that he has no name and no home, so he often lives on other people's porches. Sometimes he gets bitten by snakes, mosquitoes, and flies, but he is still very happy to have a place to sleep. However, Puss in Boots seems indifferent, which makes the puppy even more curious about his past. Seeing Puss in Boots looking sad, the puppy tells him to touch his belly to dispel the sadness, but no matter how much the puppy tries to persuade him, Puss in Boots refuses. Later, while Puss in Boots is dealing with his sadness, he suddenly notices a familiar figure. A wave of extreme fear passes through him, and he pulls the puppy to hide in a corner. But it turns out that it is not the white wolf, but Goldilocks and the bear family. They quickly restrain Luna to ask for information about Puss in Boots. Speaking gently like Baba Bear does not work. Speaking loudly like Mama Bear also does not work. Then Mama Bear catches Puss in Boots. But his real-life appearance is so different from his photo that they do not recognize him. At that moment, Baby Bear finds a tombstone that Puss in Boots built for himself earlier, leading the bear family to think he is dead. Puss in Boots, meanwhile, wonders why they have come, when they accidentally reveal that they are hiring him to find the wishing star, a star that can turn a wish into reality. The mission is very difficult because the map is with Big Jack. Right after the bear family leaves, Puss in Boots thinks about the possibility of regaining his 9 lives. He cannot pass up such a rare opportunity, so he tells Perito to dig up his grave. Puss in Boots quickly puts on his legendary outfit, though the sword is missing. Even though the outfit is incomplete, Puss in Boots does not let that stop him. In no time, Puss in Boots reaches the place where Big Jack is. But he does not expect Perito to follow him just to deliver a piece of firewood as a substitute for the lost sword. The situation is as tense as a taut string, and Perito tells Puss in Boots to touch his belly for good luck. But Puss in Boots ignores him and sneaks inside. Soon Puss in Boots arrives at the place where the transaction between 2 strangers and Big Jack takes place. The 2 strangers keep nagging, making Big Jack's head ache, so he orders them to hand over the chest. He has not yet had a chance to see the map when the 2 insist that he sing his signature nursery rhyme first. It turns out that before becoming Big Jack, he is a hardworking boy selling cakes to earn money. However, because he has no talent or magical ability, he cannot compete with other stores, so Big Jack is determined that when he grows up, he will find a way to possess all the magic in the world. To achieve that goal, he will need the wishing star. Meanwhile, Puss in Boots takes advantage of the moment when no one is paying attention to quickly unlock the chest. But before he can celebrate, he unexpectedly runs into an old acquaintance. As soon as he sees Kitty, Puss in Boots politely greets her, but he doesn't expect Kitty to give him another kick. After so long apart, Kitty is shocked by the worn-out look of Puss in Boots. But that surprise still isn't enough because a bear suddenly falls from the ceiling. It turns out Goldilocks and the entire bear family have shown up, and a situation that awkward. Puss in Boots only needs a confident smile. Then suddenly the cabinet beside them collapses, sending everything into chaos. Even though Puss in Boots and Kitty grab the flying carpet to escape, Jack Horner throws his trident and knocks both of them down. While running away, Kitty still doesn't forget to snatch the map right out of Puss in Boots' hands. With her 10 years of stealing experience, Kitty easily defeats the guards working for Big Jack. Meanwhile, Puss in Boots is being chased closely by the bear family, 3 against 1. There's no way he doesn't end up either blind or limping, and he gets kicked straight in Kitty's direction. Luckily, both of them land right on Perito's carriage, giving them a chance to escape. 2 cats and 1 dog keep running forward and arguing while the enemies behind them keep firing non-stop. Puss in Boots tells Kitty to trust him, but Kitty refuses because she has lost all trust after the Santa Coloma incident. Seeing the enemies closing in, Puss in Boots kicks all the money bags down to block their path. He is feeling triumphant when he suddenly hears a whistle. The sight of the white wolf signaling makes Puss in Boots panic, and he urges Perito to run faster. Meanwhile, Big Jack is gathering every magical item he has and stuffing them into his bottomless bag while summoning an entire army of bakers to set off. After that, Jack Horner copies the Cinderella story and uses his magic wand to transform a pumpkin into a giant carriage. At the same time, Puss in Boots and Kitty read the contents of the map. It says the wishing star is inside the dark forest, a place that is easy to enter but difficult to escape from. Just like the situation of college students, because the map will guide the way, Puss in Boots and Kitty immediately start fighting over who will keep it. Suddenly Perito wants to join in too, which makes Kitty suspicious and ask who he actually is. But neither Puss in Boots nor Kitty expects Perito to calmly list all the negative nicknames people have given him without caring about it. Besides Puss in Boots' little gang, there are 2 other groups chasing after the same thing, Jack Horner's group and the bear family. Then night falls and Puss in Boots' group finally reaches the dark forest. In front of them is a strange gate. They agree to jump in together, but Puss in Boots kicks Perito in first, and Kitty pulls him in right after that. Even after landing safely, Puss in Boots keeps screaming, which makes Kitty feel speechless. Then the group notices that the inside looks completely different from the gloomy outside. There are countless flowers in every color. Puss in Boots wants to look at the map for a moment, but Kitty refuses. With no other choice, he uses his wet eyes trick, but he doesn't expect Kitty to use the exact same trick. The two of them keep taking turns making their cutest faces, while Perito suffers the most because he doesn't know whose side to take. In the end, all three decide to look at the map together as soon as Puss in Boots touches it. The path ahead transforms into the Valley of Incineration over Undertaker Ridge. When Kitty touches it, it changes into the Swamp of Infinite Sorrows. Even though Perito doesn't wish for anything, when he touches it the entire scene becomes beautiful. The map seems to be reflecting each person's soul, so Puss in Boots and Kitty agree to let Perito hold it. Suddenly the bear family appears on the map, which makes the three of them realize it is time to move. On the other hand, Mother Bear is asking Goldilocks what wish she wants, but Goldilocks immediately says the secret makes a woman, so she can't reveal it. Back with the gang. While they are moving forward, giant flowers suddenly appear and block the way. Puss in Boots and Kitty try to fight them, but nothing works. When it's Perito's turn, he just needs to sniff their scent and they instantly become gentle. Thanks to that, Perito manages to rescue Puss in Boots and Kitty. Now Kitty becomes curious about what kind of life Perito has gone through that makes him so strange. Perito doesn't hesitate at all and talks about all his unfortunate days with an oddly optimistic heart. When he is little, he lives with a family and often has to play hide and seek. To make it harder for him to find them, they put him in a cardboard box or a trash can, but he always finds them anyway. Then one day they put him in a sock with a rock and throw him into the river. When Perito swims back up, everyone is gone. That is the only time they hide so well that he can't find them. But luckily he still has the sock, and that's the shirt he is wearing now. Hearing that, Puss in Boots and Kitty immediately feel pity for the little naive dog. Kitty even says Perito should be the one to receive the wish, but he refuses. For him, having a warm shirt and two close friends is already enough. Meanwhile, the bear family is chasing closely behind, but behind them is Big Jack. Jack Horner quickly pulls out the magic sword and blows the bear family aside, but when he reaches the pocket full of posies, he is stopped and has to ask the bakers to clear the way. As expected, they all get swallowed by the flowers, so Big Jack needs another plan. He thinks this thing is a magic locust, but it turns out to be just a grasshopper of conscience, whose only job is to judge his character. So Big Jack immediately pulls out the fire phoenix to burn everything down quickly. On the other hand, Perito is being taught the wet eyes trick by Kitty, but the more he tries, the more he looks like a tiny chihuahua. Perito says Kitty and Puss in Boots don't need to use that trick because he already trusts the two of them. But Kitty disagrees. She says that in life you shouldn't trust people too much, because every time she trusts someone, she gets tricked, played dirty, or betrayed. Just like how she stole Perito's shirt when he wasn't paying attention. Meanwhile, Puss in Boots is feeling extremely uncomfortable because his beard is itching like crazy. So he begs Kitty to shave it so he can get his style back. Kitty isn't a petty person, so she agrees, after trimming everything neatly. She even gives Puss in Boots her short cat blade to replace his sword. The stick is no longer useful, so Puss in Boots throws it away, but Perito unexpectedly runs after it and catches it. Right at that moment, Big Jack appears with Perito in his hand. He wants to trade Perito for the map, but suddenly the bear family shows up. Perito takes advantage of the chaos between Big Jack and the bears to escape. Everyone wants the map, so a fight is inevitable. With 10 years of fighting experience, Puss in Boots and Kitty easily dodge all the attacks from the bakers. At the same time, Big Jack keeps attacking from afar, but he misses every shot and ends up hitting his own men, making them explode like fireworks, and a split second of danger. Puss in Boots accidentally drops the map. It's right in front of him, but before he can pick it up, he hears the familiar whistle that terrifies him and he runs away. Seeing Puss in Boots acting strangely makes Kitty lose focus, so she loses the map. As soon as Goldilocks touches it, the ground begins to shake and the path shifts once again. And before they leave, the bear family even mocks Kitty with smug laughter. On the other hand, Puss in Boots is still running because he keeps seeing hallucinations of the white wolf. When Perito finally finds him, Puss in Boots is in a state of extreme panic. Seeing his best friend terrified, Perito gently walks to his side and rests his head on Puss in Boots' belly. Thanks to that, Puss in Boots slowly regains his composure. This is also the first time he sincerely acknowledges Perito and thanks him. When Perito asks what happened, Puss in Boots finally tells him everything. Actually, I only have one life left, so I'm really afraid that death will come for me. It's normal to be afraid of death, but Puss in Boots is different because he is a legend, and now I'm nothing, so I need the wish to get my life back. As Perito wants to tell Kitty about this, Puss in Boots stops him. He begins to talk about the incident in Santa Coloma, unaware that Kitty is listening from afar. It turns out that he and Kitty once prepared for their wedding at the Santa Coloma church, but at the last minute he was too afraid. He didn't want to gamble the future of a glorious legend, so he never showed up. Kitty hears everything, but she still has to pretend she knows nothing. The gang regroups and continues their journey to find the map. Meanwhile, the bear family is closer to the wishing star than ever, but suddenly the map disappears and leaves only one message. To find the wish, the perspective must change. Far on the horizon, yet right in front of the eyes, and right in front of the bear family appears their familiar old countryside home. Unable to resist their curiosity, they step inside and discover everything exactly the same. The half-eaten jar of honey, the bowl of porridge still warm, even the little details untouched. Goldilocks also finds her favorite childhood book. The memories return in an instant. The day a lonely orphan sneaks into the house and quietly wins the hearts of the bear family. The day laughter and happiness arrive in their home, but the touching moment suddenly shifts to another scene. Puss in Boots and Kitty are struggling to climb a tall tree. As soon as Kitty pulls him up, Puss in Boots uses the chance to apologize for what happened in Santa Coloma. Kitty says it's fine because she didn't show up that day either. She already knew she could never win against Puss in Boots' only true love, that is himself. It turns out the only person left waiting was the priest. Kitty also reminds him that she has seen how much he has changed. Meanwhile, Big Jack is watching the gang through his crystal ball. When he uses the bakers to form a bridge, the grasshopper of conscience starts doubting humanity. He believes everyone has a good side. So he asks Jack Horner to talk about his childhood. When I was young, I lacked everything. I was only loved by my parents, lived in a mansion and had a stable life. When I grew up, I had to inherit the family's bakery company. So if I get the wish, I will finally have the only happiness I want, which is to possess all the magic in the world. Truly, too much pampering creates someone who never understands enough. Meanwhile, the gang is searching for a way to sneak into the bear family's house. Puss in Boots takes advantage of their deep sleep to grab the map, but he is too clumsy and Goldilocks notices him. In no time, the bear family catches him, but he quickly throws the map to Kitty. As soon as she touches it, the world around them shifts again, but Goldilocks will not let it go so easily. Perito immediately runs in to help and manages to hold her back. Realizing they are surrounded, Kitty pulls Puss in Boots close, and the two of them move together in a fierce, synchronized fight that feels almost like a dance. Suddenly, Goldilocks returns to the race, forcing Puss in Boots and Kitty to perform a dance to reach the map first. When Kitty touches the map again, the path shifts once more, but Goldilocks has already taken Perito hostage. Wanting to save Perito, Puss in Boots holds the map to locate them, but he does not expect that he will trap himself inside a massive ice cavern. No one can enter or leave, so he and Kitty split up. Kitty goes to rescue Perito while Puss in Boots searches for a way out. Inside the ice cavern, he unexpectedly comes face to face with the reflections of his 8 previous lives. They take turns bragging, boasting, and admiring their own glory, and his former glory as well, making his heart stir with old excitement. Meanwhile, the bear family prepares a trap to reclaim the map. Baby Bear wonders what will happen if the two cats never come back to save the dog. Perito immediately answers with certainty. They will return for him because they are a team. He even tells Goldilocks that although they are both orphans, she has won the jackpot because she has a loving family. The bear family barely has time to feel touched before Perito suddenly disappears, and Baby Bear accidentally activates the trap Kitty set earlier. Back inside the cavern, Puss in Boots is still singing and dancing with wild excitement when he finally grows tired. He tries to find an exit so he can reunite with Kitty and Perito, but the 8 remaining lives tell him to forget them. He has the map. He just needs to reach the wishing star to regain his life, and then he can return to being the legendary Puss in Boots he once was. But Puss in Boots wonders if that title is so enormous that it leaves no space for the people he loves. The 8 lives mock him one by one, calling him a straw hero, a coward in boots, and even a sour pickle. In anger, he shouts back at them. Just as he attempts to find his own way out, the white wolf appears. The wolf tells him he has watched Puss in Boots waste each life without knowing how to cherish any of them. At that moment, Puss in Boots realizes the white wolf is not a bounty hunter, he is death itself. Disgusted with how cats receive 9 lives, but Puss in Boots treasures none, death has come for him. Puss in Boots is terrified and immediately runs for his life. But this only makes Death more thrilled, and he nearly catches him. Even when Puss in Boots sees Kitty and Perito in the distance, he cannot regain his composure. Kitty misunderstands, thinking he has not changed at all and is trying to keep the wish for himself. He keeps running until the wishing star comes into view. Elsewhere, the bear family is arguing because Baby Bear still does not understand why Goldilocks wants the wish so badly. Goldilocks finally admits that she wants a real family, not a life with bears. Hearing that the bear family feels heartbroken, Mother Bear says she fears shiny things because they can make a person's heart waver too easily, but even so they will help Goldilocks get her wish if that is what truly makes her happy. At the wishing star, Puss in Boots is reciting the spell when Kitty and Perito suddenly appear. Kitty expresses her disappointment. She truly thought she had finally found someone she could trust, and that itself was her wish. But Puss in Boots has betrayed her again and run away. After learning he only has one life left, she gives the map back and leaves. Puss in Boots does not want Kitty to misunderstand, because death is genuinely hunting him. But before he can explain, Jack Horner and the bear family arrive. Tension rises as a battle among 9 people is about to erupt. The map flies from hand to hand. Jack Horner's last baker is endangered, but Jack ignores him. Baby Bear is nearly swallowed by a magical wall, but Mother Bear and Papa Bear arrive just in time, yet the pull is so strong that all 3 struggle to hold on, although Goldilocks finally gets the map. After a moment of emotional conflict, she chooses to stay with the bear family. Then the map falls into Big Jack's hands, but Kitty lands a perfect kick and sends him flying. In the end, Jack Horner is pushed into his own bottomless bag. At the same moment, Perito manages to catch the map and brings it to Puss in Boots. Even with only one life, Perito is willing to give up the wish for Puss in Boots and Kitty. He says that sometimes one life is enough, as long as we know how to cherish it. At this moment, the familiar whistle rings out again, sending everyone into panic. The Grim Reaper is here, and he quickly surrounds Puss in Boots, challenging him to a one-on-one duel. He even tosses Puss's old sword and asks whether he will choose to fight or cowardly run away with a pile of lives like before. Suddenly, the film reel of Puss in Boots' life flashes through his mind. The memories he shares with his friends move him to tears, and so Puss in Boots decides he will not run anymore. He chooses to fight. The two of them rush at each other at the speed of sound. This time, Puss in Boots actually lands a hit on the Grim Reaper, which makes the Reaper far more amused. But in the end, Puss in Boots still cannot match him, because both his hat and his sword get knocked away. In that life or death moment, Puss in Boots grabs Kitty's dagger to block the strike. Now the real battle begins. This time Puss in Boots fights with confidence. With Kitty's dagger in hand, he quickly breaks the Reaper's scythe and even kicks him far back. He's even willing to keep fighting if the Grim Reaper wants it. "I know I can't beat you, but I won't give up this precious life," he says. Hearing that the Grim Reaper grows furious, he steps right up to Puss in Boots and roars to intimidate him. But Puss in Boots doesn't back down at all. "You've ruined my mood," the Reaper says. It turns out he only hunts arrogant souls to punish. But because Puss in Boots has changed, the Reaper no longer wants to play this cat-and-mouse game. Before leaving, he reminds Puss in Boots that one day, the two of them will meet again. After that, Puss in Boots reunites with Kitty and Perito. This time he shares his wish with Kitty because she deserves someone she can trust, but Kitty refuses because she has already found that person. I think the movie ends here, but the story says no, because Big Jack suddenly escapes the bottomless bag with his giant body. He snatches the map from Puss in Boots and Kitty, just as Big Jack begins chanting the spell. Perito appears out of nowhere. He begs Jack Horner not to make that wish and tries to use the famous wet eyes technique. At first it looks a little awkward, but he actually manages to pull it off, but that only gives him wet eyes as Big Jack isn't moved at all. Because he has long lost his humanity, it turns out Perito is only stalling for his teammates, Goldilocks. Puss in Boots and Kitty rush into the fight. All 3 join forces and tear the map apart. Before the ice cracks and collapses, the Gang and the bear family escape safely. Big Jack is still greedy, so he tries to piece the map back together. But he suddenly realizes he's missing one piece. In the end, Jack Horner gets swallowed by the wishing star, exploding into a beautiful burst of fireworks. Puss in Boots takes this chance to open his heart to Kitty. He tells her he will spend his last life staying by her side and Perito's. Goldilocks also realizes that the greatest treasure of her life is the loving bear family. She tells Perito, "I really hit the jackpot." Then Puss in Boots asks Perito what name he wants, because Perito is just the nickname he randomly gave him, but the puppy says he wants to keep it, as that's the name his best friend calls him. The next day, the Gang steals the governor of Del Mar's ship to search for new adventures and visit some old friends. Maybe that's a hint for Puss in Boots 3.